Opioid misuse is a crisis, a growing concern that casts a shadow over our society. It's a problem that demands our attention and action, that touches families, leaving them with heartache and worry, schools, disrupting the learning environment and the well-being of students and communities everywhere, eroding the fabric of our neighborhoods and towns. For teenagers, whose brains are still developing and incredibly impressionable, the risks are especially severe, with potentially life-altering consequences. A single choice, a pivotal moment driven by curiosity, a desire to experiment, pain, a need for relief or peer pressure, the influence of friends and social circles, can change a young life forever, derailing dreams and potential. This isn't just about numbers, it's not just a statistic on a page, it's about families facing fear and uncertainty, grappling with the unknown. Opioid misuse doesn't just harm the individual, it's not an isolated incident. It ripples through families, leaving scars that can last a lifetime, classrooms, impacting the educational journey of many, and entire communities, weakening the bonds that hold us together. When a teen struggles, when they face this difficult challenge, so do their loved ones, who desperately want to help. The teenage brain is still maturing, still developing its full capacity, making it more vulnerable to addiction, more susceptible to its harmful effects. Opioids can hijack the brain's reward system, taking control of its natural functions, making it hard to stop even when someone wants to, creating a cycle of dependency. Prevention is vital. It's our first line of defense, not just to stop a bad habit, not just to break a pattern, but to protect developing brains and futures, to ensure a brighter tomorrow. Yet, there's hope. There's always a chance for change. Fewer teens are misusing. The numbers are trending in the right direction. Prescription opioids than a decade ago, a sign of progress. This progress is thanks to parents who are having open conversations, doctors who are prescribing responsibly, educators who are teaching prevention strategies, and communities working together, united in this cause. By learning from our successes, by understanding what works, we can face new challenges, we can overcome obstacles, and protect the next generation, ensuring their well-being. The journey isn't over, there's still work to be done, but we know change is possible, and together, we can make a difference. In the early 2000s, a subtle shift began to take place in how young people viewed and accessed opioids. It was a period marked by a growing, yet largely unseen danger lurking just behind the doors of seemingly ordinary homes. Opioid misuse among teens didn't start in dark alleys or on street corners, but rather, it insidiously began in medicine cabinets, those ubiquitous fixtures in our homes. Not on the streets, but within the perceived safety of suburban homes and communities. This made the problem all the more difficult to detect and address early on. Pharmaceutical companies, in their pursuit of profit, aggressively marketed new painkillers as safe and non-addictive, a claim that would later be proven tragically false. This relentless marketing led to a surge in prescriptions, with doctors often overprescribing opioids for even minor ailments. Opioids became common in homes, readily available and often seen as a simple solution to pain. This widespread availability made them easily accessible to curious teens, who often underestimated the risks involved. The perception shifted. What was once viewed as a dangerous narcotic was now seen through a different lens. Prescription pills seemed less risky than street drugs, carrying a veneer of legitimacy and safety due to their medical origins. Teens could get opioids after dental surgery, often receiving prescriptions for far more pills than they actually needed. Or sports injuries, where young athletes were routinely prescribed strong painkillers to get back in the game quickly. This often resulted in leftover pills sitting at home, easily accessible and tempting to experiment with. Farming parties emerged, a dangerous trend fueled by this easy access. These were gatherings where teens mixed and shared pills from family supplies, often unaware of the potentially lethal combinations they were creating. Taking a prescription pill felt safer, a far cry from the stigma associated with illicit drugs. But it was a dangerous illusion, masking the very real risks of addiction and overdose. Many teens started misusing opioids unintentionally, perhaps taking a friend's pill for a headache or back pain. They were seeking relief from pain or stress, often unaware of the slippery slope they were embarking on. The culture of a pill for every problem, perpetuated by advertising and societal norms, normalized the use of medication for even minor discomforts. This made misuse seem normal, even acceptable, especially among young people. For teens under pressure to succeed academically, socially, and athletically, the allure of a quick fix was incredibly strong. The temptation for a quick escape from the stresses of daily life was strong, and opioids offered a seemingly easy way out. This crisis was fueled by medical practices that prioritized quick solutions over long-term care. It was also driven by aggressive marketing tactics that downplayed the risks of opioids, and by cultural attitudes that normalized the use of pills for every ailment. A generation was put at risk, unknowingly walking into a trap set by misinformation and easy access. It was a perfect storm of availability and misinformation that would have devastating consequences for countless young lives. By the early 2000s, prescription opioid misuse among teens hit alarming highs. Nearly 1 in 10 12th graders reported misusing Vicodin. OxyContin misuse also peaked. Teens found these drugs at home, from friends, or through prescriptions, often believing they were safe. This easy access, combined with low perceived risk, fueled the crisis. Emergency visits and treatment admissions for opioid issues among teens surged. As prescription pills became harder to get, some teens turned to heroin, a cheaper, deadlier alternative. The crisis exposed flaws in healthcare and the dangers of widespread opioid availability. It became a national wake-up call, sparking the response that would eventually reverse the trend. The lesson: unchecked access to powerful drugs can quickly spiral into disaster. The 2010s brought a turning point. Teen opioid misuse began to fall sharply. By 2023, Vicodin misuse among 12th graders dropped from nearly 10% to less than 1%. OxyContin misuse saw a similar dramatic decline. These numbers represent real lives protected from addiction and overdose. National surveys confirmed the trend. Fewer teens were starting or misusing prescription opioids. This progress was the result of targeted education, policy changes, and community action. Prevention works. When science, policy, and community align, change happens. The decline is proof that collective effort can reverse even the toughest public health crises. The drop in teen opioid misuse was no accident, it was the result of coordinated action. Public education campaigns shattered myths about prescription drug safety. Prescription drug monitoring programs and stricter guidelines limited access and overprescribing. Safe disposal programs removed unused pills from homes, cutting off a major source for teens. Naloxone awareness highlighted the deadly risks, reinforcing the message that opioids are dangerous. Together, these strategies built a strong defense, protecting countless young people. Just as progress was being made in combating the opioid crisis, with increased awareness and treatment options becoming more readily available, a new and even more insidious threat emerged: illicit fentanyl. This synthetic opioid has rapidly infiltrated the illegal drug market, creating a wave of unprecedented danger. Fentanyl is far more potent than morphine. In fact, it's estimated to be 50 to 100 times stronger. This extreme potency makes it incredibly dangerous, even in minuscule amounts. And it began appearing in counterfeit pills, deceptively disguised to look like legitimate medications. These counterfeit pills are designed to look almost identical to real prescriptions, making it nearly impossible to distinguish them without laboratory testing. Teens may think they're taking a safe pill, perhaps believing it's a common pain reliever or anti-anxiety medication obtained from a friend. But a single counterfeit pill, laced with a lethal dose of fentanyl, can be deadly. The consequences can be irreversible. Overdose deaths among adolescents have surged dramatically in recent years, a heartbreaking trend that demands immediate attention. This surge is overwhelmingly driven by fentanyl-laced pills, which are flooding the illicit drug market and posing a grave threat to young people. This isn't primarily about more teens using drugs or experimenting with substances, it's about the drugs themselves becoming far more lethal and unpredictable due to fentanyl contamination. The risk has been amplified exponentially. The primary risk is now sudden death from a single exposure, not just the long-term consequences of addiction. The immediate danger is paramount. There's absolutely no way to know what's truly inside a pill obtained outside of a legitimate pharmacy. Accurate identification requires sophisticated lab testing, which is not readily available to the average person. Even one pill can kill. It's a game of Russian roulette with potentially fatal consequences. This is especially true for teens with no prior opioid tolerance, as their bodies are far more vulnerable to the drug's effects. Prevention messaging must be crystal clear and direct, leaving no room for ambiguity. The message must be: never, ever take a pill that was not prescribed directly to you by a trusted medical professional. And always ensure that your prescriptions are filled at a real licensed pharmacy by a qualified pharmacist. The counterfeit pill crisis represents the new front line in the fight against drug-related deaths and addiction. In this environment, one mistake, one seemingly harmless decision, can be fatal. Protecting teens now demands absolute clarity and unwavering communication about the dangers. It requires open and honest conversations about the very real and present risks of a contaminated drug supply. Protecting teens starts at home, in schools and in our communities. Parents have open, honest conversations about the dangers of fentanyl and counterfeit pills. Emphasize: never take a pill that isn't prescribed to you. Lock up all medications and dispose of unused pills safely. Watch for warning signs, changes in behavior, friends or grades, and act early. Schools should teach up-to-date substance use education and create safe spaces for students to seek help. Communities can expand access to naloxone and support recovery networks for young people. Our collective action has already made a difference. Teen misuse is down. The fentanyl crisis is a new challenge, but we can adapt and protect the next generation. With vigilance, education, and support, we can help every teen live free from opioid harm. Follow us on TikTok at Recovery, Journey33, Instagram at Recovery, Journey33, and Recovery, Journey on Rumble for more contents like this. See you on the next one.